job with my nonprofit. I'll take another oath serving at higher capacity as far as giving you the resources. I work for you. I'm gonna make sure you have everything you need, everything you want. Your concerns are my concerns. I'm going to make sure every department performs their job at the right level that it's supposed to be. If not, again, it's a process, right? Discipline to get the bad ones out and keep the good ones. But the main thing is to bring the resources to you. So you'll be able to know what's going on in City Hall. Transparency. Whatever it is you need, from the potholes, the homelessness, that's what we do. I work for you. And I'm asking you to hire me by voting for me, C7.
So I give it 2 hours. 2 hours. And no question was asked about seniors. Seniors. Well, you got 2 more questions. I'm just telling you what I didn't hear. I'm telling you. Okay, we're almost there. Let's keep it respectful. We're almost there. Thank you. An intergenerational program, senior to senior. Top 15% of all the kids in the Newark public schools that are destined to go to college, vet them and pair them up with a senior. So they can learn and gain maturity. So you have a senior and you also vet the senior. You have a senior that's destined to go to college, paired up with a senior, to help them understand and navigate the process of becoming mature. So when you get on to college, you go there with a little bit of knowledge, and you get a chance to spend time with someone that's been on this planet a while that can impart some wisdom to you. Simple, it's called an intergenerational program, senior to senior. That's something I would like to bring in as a Central Board Council person. 8 on 8. May 8th, C8. Thank you, Basil Park.
No, we have Felicia in the back, and we have Don.
So can I answer?
Oh no, I told you it was 3 ahead of you. Those 2 are days next. I promise, you're next. Ladies and gentlemen, come on, guys. I got you, I was ready. Okay,
Good evening.
I just wanted to know, if you know.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Are we not responding to his question? Or?
I'm sorry, I thought everybody had a chance to.
No.
Oh, okay.
We can respond?
He was going next.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Anthony, come on.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm sorry.
So my one goal is to make government work again. Now I understand that there's a lot of people here from the mayor's office, and I understand my colleagues said, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. But if we are real, there's a lot of fundamental things that are not being taken care of in this city. The government is not working for you. The one goal should be making it work for the people again. That's it. And how do you do that? You hold people accountable. That's it.
Anybody else?
So, we talked about, a lot of us talked about what our goals was for the Central Board, but one thing I want to mention that I didn't mention tonight was about safe streets. Making our communities and our neighborhoods safe again. So one of my goals as the next Central Board Councilwoman is to bring back neighborhood watch programs, enhance them, and bring back block associations. I think that we have to get back to neighboring our own streets some way, somehow. We are responsible for in front of our houses for our next door neighbors, and we have to get back to that. So that's one of my goals, my strong goals, because we can't rely on police to do everything. We have to engage in community policing. We have to come all together to help police do their job, but also make sure that we're policing our own neighborhoods, especially where we live and we pay taxes. Thank you.
As your Central Board Council person, my job is to create a space where citizens, no matter what your background is, your financial status, male or female, you are afforded the opportunity in this great city as we move forward. That's my goal. Yes, afforded the opportunity, yes. My job as your council person, I'm going to combat homelessness, like I stated earlier, is doing a housing first policy and creating a one-stop shop. My job as a council person is that I'm going to increase policing, not cut the budget by $10 million, as one of my opponents up here said. My job is to increase services because we're lacking services. Another thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to, instead of giving these big corporations these big tax credits, I'm going to start doing it with our small businesses in the city of Newark. Our mom and pop shops are the ones that move our urban cities forward. My job is to increase services for our youth. Our youth needs something to do, and one of the things that I said, I'm going to ensure that the Boys and Girls Clubs come back to this city, not just in the city, but in everywhere. Another thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to no longer make the senior buildings mixed. That was one of the biggest mistakes that we did in this city. That's why our seniors don't feel safe, because you got somebody like me, my age, who be taken off the street, and we're putting them in with our seniors who have paid their dues. That's not right. Senior buildings should be made for exactly what they are. Senior buildings.
Yes,
Another job as your council person.
They should.
Another job as your council person is I'm going to do an audit on every Newark Housing Authority complex in the city of Newark. I'm not going to lie. I didn't walk in the Garden Spires last year. I walked in the Garden Spires in 2014 and 2015 and recently this year. And the conditions of the Garden Spires, if it was me, I wouldn't be paying these landlords a dime. A dime. We need to create an escrow account to where instead of paying these landlords, you put this money to an escrow account so these landlords live up to their agreements and have our citizens living in the right conditions that any other citizen in Bloomfield, Livingston, and Franklin are living in. And my number is going to change because you got other people going to go in the battle. But right now, my battle is C9 and my slogan is together we can and together we will.
All right, okay,
I think this forum is a very good forum. I think that it should have been open to all the residents. I hope you know that the Central Ward is the heartbeat of the city. It's the economic engine of the city. That seat you hold is going to spread like wildfire. Throughout. I am a West Ward resident, however, I was rebounded into the West Ward, but I was a Central Ward resident. How would you address the issues of the city? Because I haven't heard the answer yet, and have the residents at the table with our input when it comes to economic development, when it comes to affordable housing, when it comes to the workforce program. I think it's not all about legislation, it's about the residents and what their needs are within the city. How would you address this?
I think you gotta get out fast, otherwise you won't see I think I have a simple question of that, and that is community engagement. I believe that every council person, prior to making a huge decision on any piece of legislation, they should conduct community meeting to hear what the residents have to say. That is something that is not happening, and as the next Central Ward council person, I promise you that I'm going to be out there asking the community for their input. Thank you.
RASHON HASAN C4, as your next Central Ward councilman, will have a very important job when I'm sworn into office on July 1st. The first thing is to ensure that I have the proper staff supporting me in
Amen.
that we have the right people in office, not in office, but serving as employees, as a part of my staff, to actually get out into the community to make sure that they are connecting with residents throughout the Central Ward. The only way to hear the voice of the people is to step outside of that office and put your boots on the ground and get in front of the people. Second, when we think about the Central Ward, and for us folks who've been around in Newark for a while, I want to take it back and talk about the third ward, right? So the Central Ward / third ward. Well, I may not have been born yet, but what it at least shows is that I've done my homework, I've done my research, and I've sat at the foot of seniors who are willing to impart me with that knowledge as I embark upon this journey. So, that being said, we think about the economic engine here in the great Central Ward. It doesn't exist on Broad Street. No, it exists in that Central Ward corridor that's called Springfield Avenue, that rips and runs through the heart and city, through the heart of that. We walk up and down Springfield Avenue, we see dilapidated buildings, we see vacant lots. So if we're serious about having an economic boom, it can't only take place downtown on Broad Street where the non-Newarkers come in to have their caramel macchiatos and their Mai Tai and all those different things. It has to happen of the city of Newark. And those are the things that I want to advocate for to make sure that the Central Ward not only remains intact, but continues to get stronger day in and day out. Thank you.
I think a lot of the situations that we find ourselves in is because of compromise. We have allowed compromise with developers, we've allowed compromises with big businesses, and they screw out the little people. If you're running here, you're supposed to defend the people that you represent. Your interests are for the people that you represent. So when I'm elected, my interest will be for the people. That's why we call ourselves a movement of the people. Because this is what we're about. I'm not about anything else. I'm about making sure your voice is heard. And that's what you need as a Central Ward Council person. So vote for me.
CZEZRE is the only person that knows I got on high heels today. I should have worn my sneakers. But anyway, to answer your question directly, I think that number one, a lot of leaders, we've gotten away from bringing everybody to the table. Somehow we're scared of that, you know, and usually you get that when people are leading and the people are behind them. I mentioned that earlier. As an educator, you cannot do everything by yourself. You can't do anything without parents. You can't do anything without teachers. You can't do anything without principals. So I'm used to collaborating with everybody for the number one goal. And so what I plan to do as Central Ward Councilwoman is to have consistent, not once a year, not around election time, multiple, once a month in each different community within the Central Ward, because you know it's more than one little community in the Central Ward, right? Okay, for us to have consistent community conversations and community town halls where we bring people together. You talk about what you want to see happen in your ward, you talk about the things that are going on, we bring that captain out, we bring everybody out, we bring the people who, you know, are in charge, who get paid every day down at City Hall to come to these community meetings so we could address all of the residents' concerns. That's how we do at educational board meetings. Parents get up there, they complain, you gotta address it right then and there. You don't have time to go back to your office and don't call me back for a year. You can't do that. So that's what I do every day. Every day of my life is what I get paid to do, is to work for the customers, which my customers are the Central Ward residents. So I'm not shy of that. I have experience with doing that, and that's what I plan to do when you hit the level for C1 MCIVER on May 10th.
Say that.
So, September 2015, I put my hand on the Bible, and not only did I swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States, but I swore to service my community, which is Newark. On July 1st, 2018, I'll be doing the same. I'm going to swear to not only uphold the Constitution of the United States in the city laws of the city of Newark, but I'm also going to be swearing the oath to service my people, the ward that I grew up in, the city of Newark, the Central Ward. I can promise you that. One thing I've learned is that they don't give you a seat at the table, you bring one, you put one there yourself. And I can assure you, as your Central Ward Council person, that every resident in the Central Ward is going to have a seat at the table, or I'm going to get you a seat and make you have a seat at the table. Because I am a person who is the movement of the people, by the people. And my interest is not of those on the outside, but my interest is of those here in the heart of the city, the Central Ward. From Prince Street, now call it MLK, to Springfield. From Avon to Rose Street, from Rose Street to Park Avenue, from Park Avenue to Broadway, from Broadway, we're going to go all the way back to Mount Prospect. I'm servicing everybody. So I don't care whether you're male, female, black, white, Puerto Rican, Asian, gay, straight, lesbian, trans. Do know, as your Central Ward Council person, I'm going to ensure that you're going to have a seat at the table and your voice will always and forever be heard. And together we can, and together we will move the Central Ward the way we want to move it. So vote C9.
All right, C9. Transparency, meetings. back and forth here. You say, you do, we do, you say, it goes back and forth. If we have that and we have the transparency and the communication, we can move the ward forward. But it's all about communication. We can promise the world. It's delivering on that promise. That's a whole different ballgame. Let's have the community meetings, let's have transparency, and let's have a state of the ward address, and let's address our issues. Basil Parker, 8 for 8. C8 on May the 8th. Thank you.
Okay. To address your question as far as employment for our citizens, again, it goes back to that 4311. That's the information outlined for all the residents here. You know, everybody gets a notification in case of emergency. When I get notification when there's jobs, when there's training, and things of that nature. When you're talking about public meetings, to go further, there was a Citrus Ward public safety meeting. It was a couple of weeks ago, right here at what's that church? Bethany Church. It was a public safety meeting. Citrus Ward public safety meeting. The mayor was there. Yeah. And who else was there? Who knew about it? If you knew about it, raise your hand. If you was there, raise your hand. Yeah, I was there. And I got it through an email blast. How come you didn't get it in an email blast? How come you didn't get it in the 431? So these are the resources, again, you have to know. Transparency, what's going on in your city and in your ward. And that's a simple thing to do. You're going to put it on Channel 78. All those resources, not just advertising what's going on as far as recreational and community stuff, but the job, the training, where to go for help, all those different things. So that's one of the things, and again, Anthony, I am the real choice, the right choice for their voice. So please elect me as the next Citrus Ward Council, C7.
I've got this gentleman here, so Donna, this gentleman here, then Dave. Okay, you too. Oh, that's the last one. Oh, he did one.
After we can ask the question.
Let me short.
Okay.
You got 4 people. We'll take 4 more questions and that's it.
1, 2, 3 and a half. Okay, he's had his hand up too. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 5 or 5. Let's do 5. Because this is already a quarter after 8. I want them to get a chance to mingle with you guys so that you can talk with them also.
Okay, well, my question is about the budget. I haven't heard one of you say one thing about the finances in this city. So I'm going to give you a scenario, and I want to hear your answer. Because the council's job is legislation and budget. So all that other stuff you're talking don't even apply to you. So don't want to hear it. For the month of January, February, and March, Mayor Baraka asked for $165 million to cover those 3 months. Last Wednesday before last at the council meeting, he asked for $55 million additional for the month of March. He also asked in the same agenda, that's why they had it on the snow day, while City Hall was closed, for $60 million for the month of April. The council's job is to set the budget. The council's job is to approve directors. The council's job is to approve the business administrator. And I need to know what council job, not all this other fluff, you're going to do. So now if you are sworn in, let's hypothetically act like you're all getting in there July 1st. Okay? Let's act like you all want. Donna Jackson needs to know when you are going to work with their council colleagues to set a budget and not allow any mayor to dictate the budget. If the spending level that we have right now, so I said 160, he asked for 50 million more, we have almost $300 million for 4 months. That's almost half the budget. What is the total budget for the city? Because I ain't heard nobody. No, 70. Easy. I'm not gonna write that. Shut up, Don. But what is the budget, and what are you gonna do about the mayor's reckless spending that he is doing? Because he's on his third set of trucks, just for his personal drive. That's coming out of our budget.
Ms. Jackson,
Go ahead.
I think,
And easy, BRITO, because they probably gonna keep it, because this is my question.
I'm sure you'll like this one. It is important to understand that I'm an independent candidate. That is the first sign for you guys to realize that I'm not just going to say yes to everything the mayor says. All right? Well, if somebody's running the mayor's slave, what do you think they are expected to do? For the most part.
Because up until this point, this forum has been debt-free. So we ain't gonna start that now. I said what I said about the current budget because that's what he asked for. I'm asking you as a candidate. This has nothing to do personally.
Be polite.
200. I'm being polite. This is my question. Answer the budget question. The budget question.
Too loud.
Answer the budget question. I don't want to hear about RAS. Answer the budget question.
Okay, everybody, come on.
You can't answer the
Let
question.
the gentleman answer the question, please.
Yeah, you can't answer the next.
Just take it easy, all right?
You gotta be hard.
Please allow me to answer your question, all right? You can definitely talk in your game, but let me respond to your game as well, right? The bottom line is that most likely, and I have a strong conviction on that, if you belong to a slate of the mayor, most likely you're going to support everything the mayor is saying. That's just the reality, whether you like it or not. All right? So that is my first point. And the thing is, we're not here to bash Ras Barak as the mayor. Okay? That's not what I'm doing here. Please, sir, can I please answer my question? It's my turn. With all due respect. Actually, I'm defending the mayor now, and I'm keeping it neutral, all right? So, if the mayor asks for 165 million, then 55 million, additional 60 million, to me that is a problem. As a council person, I will sit down in my office, have him wait, and let me speak. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Can you hold on?
Can I please speak? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Can you hold on 1 second? I need to reset the clock.
Sure.
92?
So we all agree, I'm sorry, so we all agree he gets 2 minutes?
Point of privilege, as a candidate, I don't believe that anybody should be getting, he should get an additional 2 minutes of time.
Sir, let me speak.
You want to reset the clock, it's fair to give him additional time. Not an entire 2 minutes.
Hello, listen up. 1 minute. That's fair. 1 minute.
Don't interrupt.
1 minute.
Thank you. That's all I need, right? Thank you very much.
And answer the question.
Starts now.
You on the clock, let's go.
All right. So as I was indicating, the mayor asked for 165 million, as you indicated, the data that you provided, 55 million, and an additional 60 million. I will have a problem with that unless I'm able to justify where that money is going. All right? It's very simple. Part of your job, as you indicated, is to legislate and to pass the budget that is fair and that is good for the whole constituency. That is a reality. But if all you're doing is saying yes to whatever the mayor said, that's not going to work. So I'm going to sit down, look at the budget. If it's justified, I vote yes. If it's not, I definitely get a no for that. Thank you.
The answer is no. He doesn't get that money. First, the council has a fiduciary responsibility to manage their money. The one thing I learned at Rutgers labor law is that I can't tell you how to spend the money, the mayor and the council, but it's my job to monitor how you're spending the money. And you should be notified how they're spending your money. You didn't know that the donors just threw at you. Nobody did that. The budget's supposed to start doing in the October before the coming year. The budget should be done on January 1st, the budget should be in. You cannot operate an open checkbook. You can't do that, and that's what they're doing. And from the numbers, it seems like we're out of money.
Yeah.
And I heard some people sanitation didn't get paid. Checks bounced, they want to get bounced, they want to get paid, but again, that's the responsibility of the council. They gotta say, no man, let me reel you back in. Let me sit you down in front of us. Listen man, we gotta do this, this, and that to manage this money, to serve our community. We gotta make sure we got the right tax revenue, right? It's like, this is like running your own home, right? You can't pay your rent if you ain't bringing the right money in. And guess what's gonna happen? You're gonna get kicked out. You're gonna be like Camden, takeover. Atlantic City, takeover. Newark, a takeover? With an airport, a railroad, and a port? And we don't have no money? We operate on a temporary budget? I don't know who did it last year, but they screwed up the healthcare issue. I got my brothers in blue retired, they have no prescription. They've been in burning buildings, they've been in gunshots, they got no prescription plan, no health insurance. They got to pay out of pocket. That's insane. That's insane. But to answer your question, it will be no to him. And this will be the reason why, but more importantly, it wouldn't even get to that because now, you know what? We'll have a balanced budget before the new year. And that's the job of the council, is to make sure and monitor we spend the money correctly. And you, getting the 4311, you will know, here's the budget, this is what we're spending. To inform you, to the citizens, we work for you. So I am the right choice for your voice. C7, vote for me.
That's it. Let's go. Next person. LaMonica, I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna wait till last. My feet hurt now.
Okay.
Got my heels on, so that's the door.
Anthony?
So to answer your question, Mr. X, the answer would be no. I've actually tried to look at the budget online. Again, the city website is terrible. It should be a lot simpler than it is, and it's not. A lot of the things that are on the council agenda is all these extra spendings. So one of the council meetings I went to, they asked for $140,000, $130,000 for some new Durangos for the police department. Why do you need 2018 Durangos for the police department? Your budget's already $130 million. We need to make sure that we're auditing every branch or every department and make sure that the money is going to where it needs to go. That's it.
RASHON, HASAN, C4. I will first start by saying this again points back to the statement that I made earlier. We currently have a leadership crisis. If our city has already approved a budget, and now additional funds are being asked to be approved by the city council, in all likelihood, that means that that original budget that was presented to the city council was probably one that was full of fluff. We just have to be clear about that. And if we continue to outspend ourselves with the burn rate that we're currently at, that means that at the end of this fiscal year, we're likely going to find ourselves in a deficit, something that the city of Newark cannot afford to do. So I think one thing that I would do is, one, I would definitely not vote to approve any additional funds, particularly if the mayor of the city of Newark has not provided any details about exigent circumstances that require us to provide those additional funds for the budget. The second question would be, we would like to pose as well, how are you as the mayor of the city of Newark proposing that we actually find this additional money that you are asking for? What cuts are you willing to make? Are you willing to reduce your current security details so that we have additional money that goes back into the overall budget that can help support the city of Newark? And then we also need to make sure that we have strong budgetary controls in place. So if we are already overextended, that means that we need to implement an immediate hiring freeze so that we're not bringing additional individuals on the payroll who are going to take money out of the existing budget that we have. And again, we've all heard the complaints about the current business administrator that we have. So if I was on the council right now, one thing I would be recommending is that that individual be fired because it's clear that he does not have the best interests of Newark residents. And the last thing that I would do, in conjunction with my colleagues on the Newark Municipal Council, is really take a look at how we can go about shared service agreements and utilizing our existing departments to bring in additional revenue to help with our budget.
I'm used to looking at a budget line by line as a school administrator. Line by line, we propose the budget, but let's be realistic. Sometimes the budget that's proposed, we run into emergencies, we run into situations, even as a school administrator. We just had like mold in one building that we didn't budget for, but those things happen, so we have to ask for additional funds. But I think the key point is to make sure that I know me as the Central Board Councilwoman, I will be looking at what is being proposed. What are we using it for? You gotta ask questions, you gotta review what they're asking for you. At the end of the day, the city council itself doesn't create the budget. They don't create it by line. They get a proposed budget and they add it.
They don't get a budget from the mayor.
Okay.
The council creates the budget and presents it to the mayor. So that's what y'all do. Y'all make the budget.
All right, that's not true, but okay, I'm not gonna go into a back.
I see you outside, Rockman. It's so.
Hey, y'all taking up my time. Y'all taking up my time. Like we doing this. Can I reclaim my time? Thank you. I am reclaiming my time. I'm reclaiming my time from everybody. Okay, thank you. So, you know what? At the end of the day, I'm gonna say, because I don't want to take up any more time, as a Central Board Councilwoman, I know how to look at budgets. I'm prepared to look at budgets. I would be asking questions in regards to where money is going, what it's being used for, etc. Thank you.
All I have to say is, once the budget is agreed upon, it's our responsibility to make sure that agreed upon budget is followed. There are going to be mitigating circumstances that might pop up, that might cause us to go back and look at why the mayor is asking for extra money. If the need for that money suffice, then we have to look at should we or should we not. But if a budget is made and there's also a leeway, there's no reason for him to be asking over and over and over. Simple as that.
Any other comments on that? Okay, yes, I think you're next, and then you, Dana. The next gentleman.
My question was, you respond to council members. Where do you stand on the current council practice of using tax abatements as the primary primary tool to attract large businesses while simultaneously increasing residential taxes and small business taxes? I know this gentleman right here touched on it earlier.
I am against tax abatements for business.
Yes.
Makes no sense. Ruins, we have this idea of we need to bring these businesses in for jobs, right? But historically speaking, we knew we were a big factory town. When the factories closed down, what happened? A lot of people lost their jobs. If these corporations come in, hire all these people, and then all of a sudden they up and leave, what happens to our residents? We're here, we're going to be stuck footing the bill and being hurt and continuing this cycle of unemployment. We can't afford to do that. I'm wholeheartedly against it.
Tax abatements, they're kind of good and they're kind of bad. One thing it does is it guarantees us some revenue. It's the amount of the tax abatement that you give a company. A company like Amazon, they're going to make, you can't give them $1 billion tax abatement. That's insane. So, whatever, but they want more than that. They want to get rid of payroll tax. Every single employee, like myself, we pay a tax. So you can't, we're losing revenue. So the tax abatements is going back, and some abatements are for residents, homeowners. Some homeowners have tax abatements too. A lot of people don't know that.
I got a tax abatement on my.
Yeah, so it should be, if you're a homeowner in Newark, instead of raising your taxes, I should be giving you an abatement, right? I should be giving you a break.
They already compensated for the big because they've been kicking in the teeth.
Oh, man. Okay, but again, tax abatement is twofold. It guarantees us at least some revenue. So again, it's the amount of tax abatements that we give these companies when they come into the city. And those small businesses should get one because again, they're 5%.
Respond to your question, sir. By the way, one of my degrees was in economics at Rutgers University, and as I indicated before, I worked on Wall Street for 2 years, so I have some experience in the financial background, rather. According to the data that is out there, tax abatement is being given to new businesses for a period of time of 30 years. I think that is just insane. That is just too much. All right, I think we can reduce that number, keep them happy, make it attractive, and at the same time, we can continue to do business that can better elevate not only the central ward, but the entire city. So I'm totally against that long period of time of 30 years. It's too much. There's no need for it. We have to look at that ordinance. And that's what I believe. We definitely have to put an end to that.
When we have this conversation, RASHON, HASAN, C4, when we have this conversation about tax abatements, I think it's very tricky. It's sometimes a convoluted discussion. We think about pilot programs, payments in lieu of taxes. Those programs actually allow the city to do is receive payments from businesses or corporations without it first going to the state and then taking their piece of that money first. The problem is, I think that we don't necessarily have the appropriate accountability or oversight in terms of being able to pinpoint exactly where those payments in lieu of taxes are actually going. You take a city like Jersey City as an example. That community actually saw fit to utilize the funds that came into the city through their pilot program to help fund their educational system. So at the end of the day, I think there are some negatives and there are some positives to it as well. But I'll definitely say that any tax abatements that are being provided to big businesses and corporations, they should not be provided at the expense of local Newark residents. And that's something that we all have to stand firm on. Yes. Our tax rates for homeowners have increased every year. And in fact, if we look at the current tax rate right now, it's higher now than it was when Cory Booker was the mayor here in the city of Newark. Nobody's talking about that. So again, we have a quid pro quo where there's a give and there's a take. But in the middle, there's that fine line that we have to walk to make sure that the residents in the city of Newark and in the Central Ward are not being taken advantage of.
With the tax abatement, like with Panasonic, right? They got a 30-year tax abatement. You know what they did? They sold the building. And that tax abatement went with it.
You already answered the question. Really pressing time. I got one more. You're one of the four, sir. Everybody here needs to answer the question that the gentleman had. Then after that, you're going to have 1 minute to respond. 4 questions, that's it. Then we can mix and mingle for a little while, and then we got to get out of here. Okay, did everybody answer this gentleman's question? Basil, did you answer this question?
First of all, in the negotiation, nothing is absolute. You have to put everything on the table. So yes, it goes both ways. It can help us and it can hurt us. But at the end of the day, if you are someone that owns a home, yes, you have to look at the people that are voting for you, but you also have to look at revenues coming in. Because if you can get revenues from certain places, maybe you can hold the tax hike on homeowners. So as simple as that. It's a two-way ball game. Whichever way it benefits, we need to use it to our advantage so we can hold down our taxes on our homes. Because I'm paying a lot of taxes also, so I understand what you're saying. It works two ways. Basil Parker, 8 for 8.
Did everyone get a chance to answer this gentleman's question? Janice, I'm sorry, then Dana, then this gentleman here, and then Al-Sweet. Al-Sweet, I include you're last.
Before we can you just
1 minute?
remind the last, what is it, 5 questions?
The last 4 questions are going to be 1 minute to respond. And the issue of time, we got to get out. We're already like 40 minutes over our time. So Janice,
Good evening, everyone. I'm Janice Afalo, and I am a Central Ward resident. And with that being stated and said, I will, whoever is elected, trust and believe I will be holding, just like I hold Councilwoman Cheneyfield to the fire, I will be holding you to the fire. Because I am very passionate about the quality of life in the Central Ward. I am a strong tenant advocate. I was involved with the rent control ordinance from the time that when the mayor, who was then the council person, made the suggestion and empowered us to make those changes. But with that being said, we have not touched on anything about security. We talk about security, but we have a security ordinance where it states, you know, armed guard and etc. But we're not holding those, those landlords or those particulars accountable. So with that being stated, how would you make sure that the landlords of like the Pavilion Apartments, the Colonnades Apartments, Hallmark, and Garden, whatever, Garden Aspires, make sure that security is a mandatory thing. It's a no zero tolerance for those buildings.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody not jumping on the side?
I think I got you again. I think it is important to understand that when your money is attached to the decision that you're about to make, it is hard for you to make the right decision for the people. It is not a secret to anybody that a lot of landlords, they contribute large sum of money to a lot of campaigns, all right? So if you take that money, you pretty much going to do what those people want you to do rather than what the residents deserve. So that's one thing that elected officials have to consider, you know. Once you compromise yourself by taking large donations from these people that have large buildings, you're not going to be able to provide what you say you're going to do for the residents.
Next.
Yeah, so, a little interesting. Leadership through integrity. That's important first and foremost. So I think for anybody, any of us as candidates to not be able to do what's in the best interest of the residents here in the city of Newark, we will be doing our residents a disservice and we shouldn't even be sitting in these positions. When it comes to ensuring that our buildings are secure and that they have the appropriate resources, first thing we have to do is make sure that we establish the appropriate relationships with those individuals who are actually responsible for the management of those facilities. As I'm going out in the community, canvassing, knocking on doors, and speaking to residents, had a conversation with individuals who live in Garden Aspires, etc., and talk to those building managers. They want to ensure that we continue to have strong relationships and we provide that support. But again, it's about collaboration in that respect, in that regard. We can go and we can push forward to make sure that we have strong ordinances in place to support. But again, if we don't have a relationship, it's going to be very hard to do, considering that we themselves are on all the buildings.
Next.
You know, whatever the relationship with
One
the
second,
city,
sir, can I just reset the time?
sure, ma'am.
Okay, you can start.
Whatever the relationship with the city and those landlords and those owners are, there's something called a fine. If you're fine. You get fined if you're not doing what you're supposed to do. The problem is, yes, it might be on the books, but it comes down to enforcement. If you enforce something, then you will get a result. But you have to enforce it. If you don't enforce it, you will get what we're getting right now. So as council members, we need to figure out a way to hold them accountable by enforcing what the ordinance requires.
So, just like Mr. Parker stated, code enforcement is a big issue. Making sure these landlords are held accountable for the laws and regulations if they want to do business in the city. Right now, the city of Newark has 20 code enforcement officers. I think maybe before they only had 8 for a city of 300,000 residents. It's not nearly enough people. Not nearly enough resources are being put into that department to make sure that we're holding these landlords accountable for the buildings that they have in these communities. If we're holding these landlords accountable, we wouldn't have situations like how the Spires is. We wouldn't have these buildings just trickling down and getting into these dilapidated conditions. We need to hold people accountable. That's what we need to do.
The landlords are lobbying. They paying for the candidates that they get elected.
They didn't pay for me.
Let's talk real for a minute. Do any of our constituents that are fighting for in these communities, do they know what lobbying is? Do they know what crowdfunding to select a member of one of you to say, hey, Monica, you're going to represent me, and here's the 3 things you're going to represent, because $10,000 is going to get my name. Oh! Let's talk about real issues, please. That's right enough.
All right, to move forward and answer your question, pretty much, again, we work for you. If you have an issue, you're supposed to contact my office so I can address your security issue. One of the biggest problems we have is our housing authority, right? It's just an open market for the drug dealers. Let's keep it real. What I propose to do is make that project a gated community, where only the residents have access to their property to keep them out. And that's all it is, it's a simple process.
Gated communities, they keep crime out, but they keep us safe also.
That's, again, you gotta pick your poison. You wanna be safe?
No, we don't. We can opt out. You can opt out at any time. Why do you have to follow the program?
Okay, but then that security comes with hiring a police.
How can we start here so that the body comes to what to do?
Yes,
We start there.
Listen, again, security, you want